Okay, first I want to apologize for the whatever. It's really dark right now because I am trying to put my kids' clothes away, and you're sitting in the closet right now, so I'm right here. You just can't really see me. Um, so today is Saturday, October 2nd, 2021. I am stressed out. I guess, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on my channel. Um, I have three children. I have one 5-year old son, 5.5-year old son, and then I have a going on 3-year old in about 2 weeks, 3-year old son, and I also have a going on 9-year old daughter. Um, my daughter's situation is kind of complicated, so I've never talked about it, but I guess now is the time. Um, my daughter comes from a separate marriage. I got married to my first husband when I was 24 years old. Um, we got together when I was about 22. I had just turned 22. I was pretty young. The relationship went really, really fast. Like everything happened really fast. We started dating, and then I moved in like 2 weeks later. The reason why I moved in and why things were moving so quickly is because I was being abused at my home. I was being like neglected. I was being slapped. I was being hit. I was not, mind you, I was 22 years old, and actually, like I said, I just turned 22, and so all this time I was being abused at my mom and dad's house by my mother. Um, my mom, my mom, she's asked for forgiveness now. Um, Years and years and years ago, my mom apologized to me for all the stuff that she put me through. My mom was went through a lot back when she was in her 30s and her 40s. Um, she never really sought help for a lot of issues that she had. She had, bipolarism. She had severe chronic anxiety to the point where it was like, it wasn't even really anxiety anymore. It was more or less just I don't even know what to call it. She was very OCD, and that's also what made her anxiety like 50 times worse. Um, and so basically, she would take her anger out on me and my brother. 95% of the time, she took her anger out on me. Um, she would just beat the hell out of me, basically. She would call and mentally abuse me as well. It wasn't just physically, it was mentally. She would really, really try to drop my self esteem down. She'd call me every name in the book, names that weren't even relevant to me. Like, I was literally 20, from the age of whatever until the age of 22 years old, 21 years old. No, 22. I was a virgin. I had never slept with any guys. I dated guys, but I never slept with them. Um, but she used to call me a slut. She would call me a whore. She would call me, say that I was sleeping with other people. But all this was coming out because of her mental illness, that she just didn't know how to handle her own emotions. So I just realized I have no room in this closet for these clothes. So they ran out of baby hangers. I forgot. I got to buy baby hangers today. So basically, because of her mental illness, she was taking her anger and her frustrations and her anxiety out of me. Um, because this is how she felt about herself. So, anyways, I ended up moving out of my parents' house at the age of 22 years old. Um, and I moved in with my first husband. And it was critical, so I can understand why it happened so quickly because of the abuse that I was going through, but at the same time, it was bad on our relationship because it really, really made us. We kind of became like brother and sister in a way. We were just always together all the time, and we never really dated. We were always together. Um, so, anyways, so obviously he was my first, so he was the first man I slept with, and then, years went by, and, we had been together for a long time, and um, we ended up getting married, and we got married. I was 24, he was 26, and he was 25, 26. Um, Everybody said that we were really young when we got married. They said that it was like really quick, but we didn't see it as that because we'd been together for so long that we were like, we might as well get married because we didn't see any other reason than not. So after we got married, everything was fine. We were married for about a year. I think we got married in 2011, and then I don't know what the heck this is doing in here. We got married in 2011, and then about a year later, I conceived our child, our daughter. And when I conceived her, it was kind of under circumstances that I wasn't aware of. My first husband, my ex-husband, he never wanted to have kids, and he never told me this. And he never told me this until after the fact. He told me he never wanted to have kids, like 2.5 years later. So what happened is basically our marriage obviously fell apart. He started getting really selfish. He started getting really arrogant. He started getting kind of abusive. He started getting like mentally and verbally abusive, like my mother. And I won't go through that because obviously I've already been through that, and I won't do that again because it's very damaging. And I didn't want my daughter around it, and I didn't want her seeing it because of the fact that I don't want her going through that. So I was like, okay, well, it's time to just walk. And so I left. I ended up leaving the marriage. Unfortunately, at this time, when I left the marriage, I didn't have anywhere to go because I was homeless. I didn't have any money because I had been a stay-at-home mom for so many years because I was taking care of our daughter. And I didn't work because he always worked. He always had the job. And so, because I didn't have any money, I didn't have an apartment, I didn't have anything, and I didn't know anything. Like, I knew nothing. I didn't know about low-income housing. I didn't know about temp agency jobs and stuff like that. I knew nothing. So, basically, I begged and begged and begged for him to save our marriage. Like, I wanted to go to counseling. I wanted to fix it. This is after I had tried ending it. Now I'm trying to fix it. And I wanted to, for the sake of our daughter, I wanted our marriage to work. He did not. He didn't want to be with me anymore, and he was over it. So I didn't have anywhere to go. I was living with his dad because that's where we ended up moving to. We ended up moving in with his father, and it was supposed to be a move because of the fact that we had lost our apartment because of him. Because of my ex-husband, because he ended up quitting his job, and he never told me that he was going to quit, and he just quit. He didn't give me a warning or anything so I could go look for a job or get money saved up. He just quit. And I didn't have $800 a month to pay for our apartment because I didn't have a job. So we lost our apartment, and we moved in with his father, and his father was, again, very mean to me. He was very abusive. He was verbally abusive towards me, and he basically took his son's side. He didn't really know the whole story, but his father was a huge alcoholic. He's still alive. He just doesn't drink anymore, but as far as I know, he doesn't. But his dad was very mean to me. His dad was going through his own marriage issues, and I think he kind of took his problems out on me. So again, now I'm living in this house with my ex-husband now and my daughter. So my daughter was sleeping in this attic basically. She didn't have anywhere to sleep because it was willy-nilly. We just moved in with his mom, his stepmom, and his dad, all willy-nilly. And so basically they didn't have anywhere to put us, but they did. But so my daughter slept in this attic bedroom. I did not like it. It was very weird, and it was really dark. It was really dingy, and it was scary, and I didn't like it. And she was 2 floors away from me, all the way upstairs. I remember the one time she was upstairs. I didn't know it, and she had been awake for a while, and I guess apparently she had peed and pooped all over herself. She ended up getting a really bad rash. I had to go beg his father to go to the store and get diaper cream for her because I didn't have a vehicle because either that I couldn't leave or something like that because I had to watch our daughter because my ex-husband, he's a horrible father. I'm just gonna say it. He's not a good father at all. He never took care of her. He never wiped her butt. He never got up in the middle of the night with her. He never did anything with her. He basically just threw her at me. There was only one time in our marriage that I remember him getting up in the middle of the night and taking care of our daughter. Once. And she was a baby. And that was the only time he ever did it. I got up with her every single night. I took care of her. So I had to... Anyways, that was a side story. I just got off track. Anyways, so after this whole divorce thing was happening, he just started to get meaner and meaner and meaner living with his father. His father started getting meaner towards me. I was going to medical school at this time. I was in school to be a medical assistant. It was a 9-month program, and then I also was getting paid from the state to go to school. So I was getting money for just going to school. And so basically I was trying to pick up our lives. I had applied for an apartment at that time. We were on a waiting list. And I also was working on getting a car, and I was working on getting all this other stuff, but it wasn't good enough for him. Nothing was ever good enough for him. He didn't want me anymore. He wanted to be with whores. And I'm not saying this out of bitterness. This is the honest to God truth. Because it's the truth. Try to figure if my oldest is coming upstairs trying to wake up my youngest. I hate when he does that. He ended up sleeping with a girl that he had swore the entire time when we were married that he had nothing to do with, and that he never wanted anything to do with. Well, right after we had separated and were on the divorce path, he ended up sleeping with her, and he moved in with her. And then he ended up sleeping with multiple women, and they were all whores. They were just like whores. biblical word whores. They were sleeping with multiple men. And he liked it. He wanted to be with them. That's what he wanted, and that's the choice that he made. And so, yeah. So, I ended up, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the abuse anymore, and the neglect and the emotional. I was getting sick, like physically ill. I started getting like severe upper respiratory infections. I started getting ear infections. My daughter started getting sick. She started getting things. I was having really high fevers. Like, I was very, very ill. It was from the stress that I was under. I was under a lot of stress, and we were in the dead of winter. Like, it was cold. I'll never forget that winter. It was freezing cold. I remember, like, my mom, well, I guess that's that later. So anyways, I couldn't take the abuse anymore. I couldn't take the mental, the verbal, the emotional, the physical abuse. And so I called my ex-mother-in-law, which is his mother, and I begged her if me and my daughter could. We didn't really have to beg because she knew what was going on. Obviously, it's her ex-husband that we were living with. She knew how he was. So she was like, you guys are more than welcome to come here, and we did. So my ex-mother-in-law came and picked up me and my daughter in the middle of the night, and we left. Now, this is where the story gets kind of weird. My ex-husband told me that we were trying to like work on things. Apparently, this is what I thought. We were working on things. And he told me that he was going to be coming to his mother's house that night. He was going to pack his bags, and he was going to leave, and he was going to go to his mom's. And that we were going to live at his mom's house. So, the day or the night passes, and my ex-husband never shows up. And I called him the next day, and his mom was assuming this too. Like, she was like waiting for him, and so we're like, okay, where's he at? And we find out, I call him the next day, and I find out he yells at me on the phone, totally confuses me, and says, I don't know why you're calling me, asking why I'm coming there. I'm not coming there. I'm done with you. He started yelling at me. I was very confused. I didn't understand what was going on. Later, I come to find out that he had a girl at the house, and he was just showing off in front of her, and he wanted to sleep with her. This was the girl that he ended up moving in with. And then, so anyway, so my ex-mother-in-law was like, okay, so basically he's trying to play a game here, and he doesn't want to be a responsible father anymore. This kind of started to irritate my ex-mother-in-law. She didn't really like it, and she started to get kind of fed up with his behavior. It's her son. So I said, it's fine, and she was like, maybe you should just go back, and you should just stay there, and then, he needs to start taking care of you guys. And I'm like, you don't understand, like, there is no going back. He doesn't want me back there, and his father doesn't want me back there. And I didn't want to go back because I didn't want to be in that situation again with my daughter. So me and my daughter end up basically, we were living at my ex-mother-in-law's house. We lived there for about, I want to say 2.5, 3 months. I was still getting sick. I was getting very sick, like very ill. And I can't believe how trashed my son's closet is. Like, he literally does not take care of his clothes at all. I literally just cleaned it, and like, he has this whole dresser. He has all these clothes on top of here. Like, he has so much freaking clothes. It's insane. We ended up living with my ex-mother-in-law for like 2.5, 3 months. And like I said, in this time, I was still getting sick, like really sick. I started getting really bad upper respiratories. I'm gonna shut this window. These stupid kids are out here. Now, what I mean by stupid is that these kids are nosy. And they swear they're like rotten. They're horrible kids. I was getting really sick at this time. I was still getting really bad upper respiratories. It was stress. It was all stress related. I didn't find out this about my body until years later, that I have stress induced illnesses and that I get really, really sick. Ironically, the funny thing is that before this divorce, not this, but divorce, I never had this problem. I also ended up getting diagnosed with GERD because of the divorce. It was a very strange time in my life because it wasn't supposed to happen. I know everybody says divorces and death aren't supposed to happen, but for me, it really didn't feel like it was supposed to happen. It felt like to me we were made in the stars. I mean, we met in 7th grade. We knew each other since we were kids. Everything just lined up. It was perfect. And so it was a shock to my system. It was a shock to my heart, my emotions, my mental state, my physical state, everything. It just blew me back, like spiritually, and it killed me. Like, it was killing me, and so I kept getting sick. I was getting sick, but I kept going to school. I kept taking care of my daughter. I was still doing what I had to do. Meanwhile, my now ex-mother-in-law after I ended up getting money from the state for going to school, she started charging me rent. Like I said earlier in the video, I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have any money. I had nothing. I was trying to save up money because I was waiting on this apartment, and also I was trying to save up money so I could get my own place, so I can get out of my ex-family's house. I was also working on getting a car. I got a car loan from the state that I live in, and I was working on getting it. I found the car. That was a lot of work, but I ended up getting the car. Right after Christmas, or around Christmas, I started, like, me and my ex-husband was starting to act kind of weird towards me. He was, like, flirting with me, and, like, he was making me believe that he wanted to get back together. And he was making me believe that we were going to work on things. So I told my ex-mother-in-law these things, and she said, it sounded like to me he wants to get back with you again. So when I talked to him, I made this plan on Christmas Eve night that I was going to talk to him. Perfect time, like, we can just, like, sort everything out. It's the start of a new year. We can start fresh. And it went quickly downhill. Like, he was being colder as ice. Like, he would not talk. He was being very silent, stubborn, did not want to work on anything. I'm probably going to have to get up because my oldest is going to come up here. He's very loud, and I just got my youngest to go to sleep for a nap. So I'll be right back. I hope I don't screw this up. I might have to do a part 2. So anyways, he was being ice cold. He literally was not responding. He wasn't talking. And again, I didn't know at this time that he was seeing somebody else. But he was flirting with me. So he was confusing me, and he was just using me and messing with my heart. That's, again, abuse. So that night, I went upstairs. I was heartbroken. I cried myself to sleep that night. I knew our marriage was over. The next morning, it was really weird because the night before, and all of that time before Christmas Eve of 2014, me and my ex-mother-in-law were fine. We had no problems whatsoever. We were great. Our relationship was solid. We had no problems. We were like best friends. No problems whatsoever. The next morning, I woke up, Christmas morning. I was stupid sick. I had a really high fever. Again, you can see a pattern here with these illnesses. After a stressful moment, I get sick. I woke up, I had a really high fever. I had a really bad sinus infection. I didn't know it at that time, but I was getting sinus infections from crying a lot. So I was in bed all Christmas of 2014, and my ex-mother-in-law and my ex-husband at that time, I didn't know it, but he told my ex-mother-in-law a bunch of lies about me and told her that basically I was the reason why our marriage had ended and that I abused him, and told her a crap load of crap, like just a bunch of lies. The day after Christmas, I went downstairs and I was trying to talk to her, and she wouldn't speak to me. And I was like, I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, what's wrong? Like, why aren't you speaking to me? And it was really weird. And I kind of put two and two together, and I said, Steven said something to you, didn't he? I was like, he lied to you about something, and he got you all mad at me, and now this is how it's going to be. And I knew that that was the end of this. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stay there anymore. It was going to start to get harder. After New Year's of 2015, it got really, really bad. I was still going to school at this time, and I was using my ex-husband's car to get back and forth from school, and I had the car because I was using it for Stevie as well, my daughter. I ended up getting in a car accident in January of 2015. Me and my daughter should be dead right now. We should not be alive. Car was a complete total. It was destroyed. And I remember that day and the way he acted. I thought for 5 minutes that he would be concerned about me and my daughter. He wasn't. I called from the scene of the accident, and he didn't really care. I knew in my heart in that moment that if I was to die that day, that if I was dead, he would have probably been happy. And also I think that he would have probably been completely relieved. And also it was demonic in a way, the way he was acting. It was sick. It was very sick. I'm in the hospital. I'm laying in a hospital bed. I have a neck brace on. I'm all messed up. I have not a concussion, but I had, my arm was all messed up, everything. My daughter, thankfully, by God's grace, was completely fine. She had no problems whatsoever. Nothing touched her. She was completely 100% healthy. Nothing. No broken bones. She didn't get a scratch on her. Nothing. I took the brunt. I took the hit of it, which is fine because that's what I want. I remember the car just spinning, and I remember just seeing the car come at me, and then I remember just getting hit, and when the car finally stopped spinning, all I could think of was Stevie, and I got out, and that's all I remember. It was crazy. After the car accident, my mother told me that my ex-mother-in-law and my ex-husband were talking about me in the hospital. And my mom actually got very upset, and she was like, my daughter was just in a car accident. And she got really mad. I guess her and my mom got into it in the emergency room, and they had to leave. I wasn't aware of this. I didn't know how bad this actually, my ex-husband had started this. He was in the background, he thought this was great, that he was destroying my life. So after the car accident happened, everything kind of simmered down a little bit between me and my ex-mother-in-law. She kind of was being nice to me again. I think it was because she probably realized that I almost died. And then right around, I want to say the middle of January, this was the end of me living with my ex-mother-in-law. I ended up paying her rent. I was paying rent at this time because I got granted the money, and I paid her $275 to live at her house a month. I was paying her this. After I had gave her the money, the next day, I ended up having to hitch rides from one of my best friends to go to school. Me and her were going to school together, so she would just come and pick me up in the morning. She knew about the car accident and everything. The whole town did. And so she ended up coming to pick me up. Well, my friend had something she had to do after school that day. I have no control over this because I'm hitching rides and I can't tell somebody what to do. So I was like, I think 35 minutes late coming home, maybe an hour. And I'm walking through the door and I'm like, I looked at my ex-mother-in-law. She was sitting at the dining room table and I said, okay, I was like, you're free to go. Like, I wasn't being rude. I wasn't being snotty. I just said to her, I said, all right, great. I said, Nana, you're ready. You're free to go. She jumped up as fast as she could from that dining room table. She got like this far away from my face, like no joke. She was that far away from my face and was screaming at me. I had no idea what was going on. I just got out of school. I was literally getting ready to take care of my daughter and start my day. She's this far away from my face. She's screaming in my face about towels. I didn't know what she was saying. She was saying that I destroyed her towels. Back then, back when I was in my 20s, I used to dye my hair with this shitty hair coloring. It was like this red shit, and it would like get all over everything. It was shitty. It was the shittiest crap. Well, anyways, I had money, and I gave her $275 the day before, so I could have easily replaced these towels. No big deal. But I knew it was wrong. It was my ex-husband. He was riling her up again. So basically she started screaming at me to get out of her house. And I said, I'm not leaving my daughter here. And she looked at me and said, she can stay, but you have to go. I didn't know what to do. It was in the middle of January and it was like 16,000 feet of snow outside. I was in the middle of the country. I had nowhere to go. I had no car at this time. My car wasn't there yet. I had nothing. I called my mom. Yes, I called my mother because this was the final straw. I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere. I called my mother and I explained to her what's going on, and this is where it gets shitty. My mother told me that I could come and live with my mom. My mom and dad said I can come and live with them, but my daughter couldn't because the place that they live in didn't allow extra people living there, and I wasn't even supposed to be there. And my mom said, I can't take her and you. We have no room at the house. It was a crock of shit. Trust me. I know. It was a crock of shit. But I'm naive at this time and I didn't understand anything back then. So I was like, okay, whatever, and I was like, I don't have anywhere to go. Now that I think about it, I know what I would do now. If it was me, I would have been like, fuck you. I'm not leaving. By law, you don't have to. Here in the state of Michigan, you don't have to. If you're in somebody's house, you have 30 days to vacate. I didn't have to leave that night. And I also didn't have to leave my daughter there, and she had no rights to my daughter. And she would have been in big trouble. But I was naive and stupid back then, and I had no help. So what did I do? I remember the moment it happened. I'm going to try not to get emotional when I talk about this, but it's really hard. She's downstairs right now with my oldest, so we obviously are still together. But it's just a shitty moment in my life that I don't like remembering. I was in the bathroom bawling my eyes out to the point where I almost puked, and I remember my baby girl walking in the room. She was wearing a light pale blue long sleeve button up that I put her in. It was a little onesie. Her hair was all down, and she had a little pacifier in her mouth, and I had tears just streaming down my face, and she's standing there with her sucky putt in her mouth, just big brown eyes looking at me. And I looked at her and I told her, I said, I'm so sorry, Stevie. And I'm so mad at myself now because I can't really blame myself back then because I was alone and I didn't have any help and nobody helped me. Nobody. I was basically thrown to the wolves. Like, if this word can be used, I was thrown to the wolves. I had nobody. And I was stupid and naive. I was young. I didn't know anything. I kept apologizing to her. I wrapped my arms around her. I hugged her as hard as I could. And I said, Mom, it's going to come back. I promise. So she's downstairs right now. she's in my life. So she's going on 9. But I left that day. I remember him. I had to call my stupid ass ex-husband. Yep, I had to call him because I had no way out of. My ex-mother-in-law was going to take me anywhere. She was pissed at me about something, about towels. So I got into this fucking car with my ex-husband, and I go and have him drop me off at my mom and dad's house. When I was living at my mom and dad's house, I would have visits with my daughter. I would go back and I would visit with her. But the problem was, since I didn't have a vehicle, I missed a lot of visits with her. And again, we were in January. So this was like January 2015. We had the worst snow in Michigan ever. I got my car. I ended up getting my car around the end of January, early February. It was literally like a week and a half after she kicked me out. I got my car. And that's how much she could not wait. So around February, I got my car, and I had a Neon. I had a Plymouth Neon. It was brand new. It was a brand new car. But the problem was it only had 2-wheel drive on it, and it could not get down the roads. It could not get to where she was living. She lived about 15, 20 minutes away from me, and I couldn't get out there. Like, so I missed like a crap ton of visits with my daughter. I couldn't even see her. My daughter didn't do well with this, obviously. She ended up having a lot of emotional issues. I basically abandoned her. I'm just going to say it. I abandoned her. Me and my husband both did. Shame on me, because I should have never did what I did, and I take full responsibility for it. But I did. I abandoned her. Around late February, early March of 2015, my ex-mother-in-law ended up contacting me about guardianship. She said, obviously, like you're going through stuff right now because of her and her doing what she did. I think that we need to take guardianship so we can take care of your daughter. Like, I don't really think you're going to be around. You're not around, like, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to speed this up. So basically 2015 for me was hell. I ended up getting, I graduated from medical school, ended up getting a job and everything else in between, but then I just quickly, everything disintegrated. But I did end up meeting my current husband now. I met him, and then I ended up getting a job, and things started looking up, and then quickly they shattered. I ended up losing the job because my car ended up getting in a flood, and it ruined the lifters in it, and it literally had, like, the engine was crap. So then I couldn't even get out to see my daughter anymore. I lost my job. I had no money. I had nothing. I was back to being homeless again. I had no money, no car, no job, no home, nothing. It was just me and my boyfriend, which is now my husband. Me and my boyfriend, we were living in my Neon, and we were just traveling all over the place. In this time, I was an alcoholic. I drank every single day. I was smoking weed every single day. I was either high or drunk. I did not want to deal with life. I did not want to think about my daughter. I couldn't think about it. I would not let my heart go that far because I knew that if I did, I was going to fall apart. In this time, I was trying to see my daughter on and off. I would see her, but every time I went to her, I either smelled like alcohol or I was so hungover that I literally didn't even have the energy to hang out with her. I was pretty shitty in 2015. Around the end of 2015, the guardianship case was still going on and on and on. I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest son. I was homeless, but I was living at a friend's house with my husband, now my husband. We ended up staying there, but the guardianship case was still going on, but I was really slacking in my visits. I wasn't really seeing her that much because, again, I was pregnant. Now I'm getting sick. I was constantly sick all the time. I basically laid in a bed in this small-ass, dirty room. I couldn't even move. I was so sick because of the pregnancy. Around the end of 2015, I ended up moving in with my husband's sister. We ended up moving in with her, and things started looking up. Things started getting better. I ended up getting my apartment. So now I have transportation. I had my place to stay, and my husband, he was still my boyfriend at the time. He had a full-time job. We had money. Things were going up. Things were getting better. I wasn't drinking anymore. I wasn't smoking weed. I was clean. I was doing good. But for some odd reason, now that my life was getting better, my ex-mother-in-law started making my life a living hell. She was lying to the courts. She was telling them that I was still doing drugs. She was telling them that I didn't have any money, that I didn't want to take care of. She told them that I didn't want to take care of Stevie, and that I was literally just taking care of my son. I was pregnant, so... With all these lies that she was telling the courts, around the end of, or the middle of 2016 or 17, I basically lost custody of my daughter. She was 3.5, 4 years old at this time. I lost custody of her. It was very clear that they were never going to give her back to me. She was never going to come home. There was a lot of lies going around after 2016. A lot of lies started going around, and things were getting told on me. Later, I came to find out that my ex-mother-in-law just wanted to take custody of her because of past bitterness from things that happened back in 2014 and 15. and she never really forgave me for anything. So she always thought that I was going to be a shitty mom. She always thought that I wasn't going to take care of her. So that's pretty much the story of my daughter. So now she lives with my ex-mother-in-law. She comes here every other weekend. She's supposed to be here every weekend, but that's another thing. She doesn't want her here every weekend, I guess, apparently. Whatever. I don't fight about it anymore. I don't. She's here every other weekend. She stays here for about 7 to 8 hours. We recently just transitioned back to her just staying during the day. Now, this is because we both came to an agreement on this because of my son. Because my son is going through some sort of mental issue right now, and he's been saying a lot of weird things, and so I'm not comfortable, and my ex-mother-in-law is not comfortable with my daughter spending the night here, sleeping in the same room with him, because it ain't right. So she comes over during the day every Saturday. I think I gotta go downstairs because I think they're arguing, and she's happy now. I mean, she's we have a great relationship now. She asks me about everything. We talk about it. We go over everything. She understands everything now. She understands what happened. Of course, when she gets older, I'll keep explaining things to her and tell her the truth. But it is a shitty part of my life that I don't like remembering. It's very hard for me to talk about. And if I had a time machine, I would go like this back in time, and I would redo everything all over again to keep her, to stay by her side. But like I said, it's hard when you are, 26 years old and you basically are thrown to the wolves and you don't know anything. You were a young mom. I was a young mom, and I didn't have any street smarts. I had nothing. I had no money and job. So it was basically, I was left with nothing. But like I said, she's happy now. We have a great relationship now. She comes here every other weekend, and we spend time together, and I'm in her life. She's in my life. I'm in her life. And she'll always be in my life, and no matter what. So anyways, that's the story of my daughter, and that's the story of my ex first marriage. And so I've been married twice, so that's a little bit something to know about me. Sorry this video was so long. I don't have an editing system, so I can't edit these videos down. But I'm going to go because now I think Stevie and her brother are fighting, so I need to go downstairs and break them up. And I will hopefully speak to y'all again soon. Peace out.